Now let's finally get into the top 5 worst films of the year. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about how 2015 was a great year in film, how big of a year it was in film. Yeah, we had stuff like Star Wars and Jurassic World was a big hit. But am I the only one who remembers that for the most part until September to December, this year has been a pretty shitty year in film? I mean, there's been a lot of bad films this year. A lot. And a lot of big stinkers. And from January, February to even the summer had some bad films. Apparently, I'm the only one who remembers that. So let's get into them. And let's start with one that I know at number 5 that I'm going to get a lot of shit for, but bring it. I hated this movie. I still understand why a lot of people love this movie. I will never understand it. And that is It Follows. Like I said, bring on the hate. Bring on the goddamn hate. Bring it. I hated this movie. Now, I will say that the reason why this is at my number 5 is because this movie is well made. It is. It is very well made. It has a really damn good soundtrack. And that's about it. And the acting in this movie is I thought was terrible. The characters were terrible. They had no personalities. The movie was just kind of fucking stupid. Especially the ending of the movie, where I still don't understand how in the hell that scene, or understand that scene where they try to trap the thing in the pool area, and they put the girl in the pool to use her as bait, and they also surround like the pool with like TVs, lamps, and everything else, so the thing could throw all those things at her in the pool and almost electrocute her, by the way. And what did they do? As you find out later on, all they needed to do was throw a sheet over it and shoot it in the head. It's like, why didn't you do that in the fucking first place? Why did you have to put all this shit around the pool? I don't get it. It was one of the stupidest scenes in 2015. And why is this thing naked all the time? Why, like, this movie, like, I couldn't care about any of the characters. I couldn't care about anything about this film. It was a really original idea. Yes, it was. I'll give it that. It was a really original idea I haven't seen done before, but that doesn't make it a good film. That's the only reason that this movie, I think, got as well received as it did. I still don't understand why people love it, but, to each his own, I guess, whatever. Number 4, Sinister 2. Man, oh man, did this blow so goddamn badly. You take a great movie like Sinister that had a really creepy feel to it and make a really bad sequel where the cop from the first one that I barely remembered was the main guy, and to replace Ethan Hawke, bad idea first off. And then you have some really terrible dialogue, like the woman, after she's met the cop for only a day or so, tells him that she wishes that he was her kid's dad or something like that. I remember that line of dialogue so funny, how terrible that was. And also the ending is really dumb, really really dumb. It tries to be like, if I remember, like The Shining, and it also involves all those kids like that, like pop up in the films and stuff like that, or have a bigger role in this movie, and it's a really dumb movie. It was a really bad follow up to a really good horror film in Sinister. I really love Sinister, and I don't ever want to see another Sinister movie ever again. Number 3 is another horror movie. Surprise, surprise. And Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension. God damn it. That's all I can say is God damn it. You have a series that I have been following from the beginning and have defended all the way pretty much up to this point. Like, I've I even said in my review that it's kind of almost gotten to the point now it is a chore for me to sit for these films because I've sat for all the other ones. But this one pissed me off because you're like, this is it. I've been waiting all this time, and this is the last movie you gave us. It was one big middle finger to all the fans like me that have stuck through from the beginning and watched all these films. The only thing that was decent about this movie was the 3D, which was kind of cool here and there. But other than that, the characters are stupid. Why the hell did they have this movie features some of the worst parents I've ever seen? Why do these parents continue to leave this little girl by herself when they know there's a demon after her? I never understood that. The only thing that was kind of amusing was the audience I saw this with. They thought it was stupid as I did. And me and a few other people were making fun of this movie very audibly while watching it. It also, again, if you want to know how the film ends, Toby turns into a human, and that's how the movie ends. There you go. Saved you a bunch of money from ever seeing this piece of shit. This is the only time I've ever spoiled something purposely for anybody on this film, for any film, because it was like, don't see this crap, don't support it. Thank God these movies are over. It makes me so so mad that I've watched these films from the beginning, and this is the result I get. Also, it just seems like it was one of the other things was I remember about this movie was that by the end of this thing, I was just sitting there thinking that at one point the demon just starts bursting their hands through people's chest and stuff like that, and I'm like, why didn't they fucking do that in the first place? This demon is now a dick. It just likes to dick with people. That's the only thing I could think of at this point. It starts having all these powers that are never had in the first place, that made you kind of go, if it had it the whole time, why didn't it do it in do all these things in the first place? And this series would have been easily over pretty goddamn quickly. All right, I'm just gonna quit going on a rant about Paranormal Activity now and get to my number 2, Taken 3. God, this movie. I've got a chance to watch this movie again on HBO, and it's still as bad as I remember. God, this movie, I love Taken. Thought it was a great film. Didn't like Taken 2, but I don't remember Taken 2 being nearly as bad as this was. Apparently some people have told me that it was, but this is from the same director, and I don't remember this being as insultingly bad as this one was. This movie, Olivier Megaton should never be allowed to work in Hollywood ever again. He is a terrible, terrible director. He also the editor of this movie should never work in Hollywood again either. This movie, I remember having the biggest giant headache I've ever had in any film I've ever watched, in that it was quick cut, to the point I couldn't tell what was going on, especially in action scenes. And also the quick cuts were incessantly in the movie, when it didn't need to be, in dialogue scenes that drove me nuts. This movie was terrible, and really, really bad of a film. What the heck? Anyways, sorry. I was just seeing if something was coming in my room. Sorry, give me 1 second. Taken 3 for a long time was my number 1. And I guarantee a lot of people know what my number 1 is, because if you've seen my review for this film, you know how angry I was with this film. I don't think I have to pretty much say anything more than number 1, Fantastic Four. I have no energy for this film anymore. Fantastic Four. It was the film, was the review where I said, I believe my friend told me the F word, the word fuck, about 5 million times in 10 minutes. So I'm not going to try to go into this film more than I already have. Fantastic. Where do I begin? If you want my overall thoughts on it, where do I begin? This movie had a great cast, a pretty damn good director, and Josh Trank. And this movie got fucked up really badly, and I still don't know who is at fault with this thing. This movie was so bad, so bad. A movie that fell off the rails like at the 40-minute mark, when I still will never forget the instant this movie fell off the rails when it decided to go 1 year later. Even at that point, it was pretty bad film, pretty boring, you could tell the actors didn't give a shit. You could tell even the actors in the movie were not even trying, which was pretty amazing considering the actors in this movie. That makes me kind of want to believe that maybe Josh Trank was at fault for this because of, the rumors of him being kind of a dick on set. Maybe caused the actors did not give a shit about any of the film or any of what they were doing. Also, the ending of this movie also shows that the studio definitely was at fault in the fact that you could tell like how badly this was edited, reshot, everything else. From like I said, from the 40-minute mark when they said 1 year later, that was when the film fell off the rails. And then they just, for no apparent reason, just throw Doctor Doom in for the last 20 minutes. One of the most famous superhero villains of all time. You throw in the last 20 minutes and is one of the worst CGI characters I've ever seen in my entire life. Honestly, that and The Thing are two of the worst CGI characters I've ever seen in my entire life. Oh my god, the CGI was atrocious. And the only thing I remember liking about this movie was the violence in this thing. That, like, this movie got somehow a PG-13, and I still never understand how, when people's heads explode in this film. I'm not making that up. And, like, thankfully, I'm hoping that one day Marvel Studios will get the rights to Fantastic Four. Maybe one day take it from 20th Century Fox and do it right. I hope they do, but it's probably never going to happen anytime soon, especially. Luckily, this movie was so bad that I think they're not going to be making a sequel. I will not see a sequel if they do it. I will be surprised if they do it for how badly received this movie got. I even call this movie one of the worst superhero movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I still stand by that. So that definitely alone deserves a number one spot alone. And when I say that, I was watching my review, I said this movie makes Batman and Robin look like Godfather. Yeah, I'm still saying that statement. At least Batman and Robin, I can kind of get enjoyment out of. This movie sucks the enjoyment out of you. How about that? That's my top 5 worst list. Let me know in the bottom what was your top 5. What did you think I left out? I know some people will say 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey was bad, but you know what? It wasn't the worst thing I've seen all year. It wasn't. It was kind of entertaining. It still was. I kind of was entertaining. I'm surprised by how many people put that in their number one. There was a lot worse than that. Trust me, there was. I thought. Let me know in the comments what was your top 5 worst. What was your worst film of the year? Here's hoping that 2016 is a better year. So far it's kind of been I mean, we have the only films I've seen so far are The Forest and 13 Hours. 13 Hours wasn't that bad, so here's hoping that maybe this January we're also getting Kung Fu Panda 3, which actually is getting good reviews for a January movie. So I still understand how the hell that got released in January, but I'll be back later this week with the Danish Girl, like I said earlier, my last review. And until then, I'll talk to you guys later.